Then in Israel, I grew up until 15, 16. Few experiences in a bunker, just it's kind of normal. But the self-sabotage is real. It's like I was addicted to that story of being a phoenix, like messing up so badly and then rising up from the ashes and then just to self-sabotage again. So I guess in recovery, people talk about the seed of recovery, is being planted at some time of your career, of using. And since that moment, it's never as fun.
Welcome to the Recovery Roundtable podcast, where the journey to sobriety opens up through powerful discussions and shared experiences. Join your host, Mark, who will bring you stories of triumph and resilience from the heart of Pacific Shores recovery. Every episode offers insights and support, guiding you through the challenges of addiction recovery. Thank you for joining our community. If you're ready to start or continue your recovery journey, we're here to inspire and support you. Let's explore recovery together.
Well, I am so excited to finally get to meet you, not quite in person. We're going to get to in person one of these days. We were just talking about hitting record, but we've been kind of in the same group of a few people and a mutual acquaintance. We were able to connect. And so you shared, I have a story you wouldn't even believe. Like, let's talk and chat. So Timur, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Mark. I think you're doing God's work in a lot of ways, and I've been in that cycle for almost a decade, and it felt impossible to get out of. So I'm excited to share.
Well, let's dive in. We've been together in the same business circle for a little while, which has been great, but there's a part of you that was around way before. So first of all, people might be thinking, I hear an accent. So why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of your background, where you're born, where you're from, and we'll go from
Yeah.
there.
Yes, wanted a better life for me and my sister. So back then, they started having kids early. So my parents were like in the 1920. I was born in Dagestan, Russia. Okay. And the situation there wasn't good in the 90s. So then my parents decided to immigrate to Israel, actually, which is Russian, Hebrew, two different languages. It was hard on them, yeah, because my mom has Jewish roots, so they decided to go there. Then in Israel, I grew up until 15, 16. Few experiences in a bunker, just it's kind of normal.
This episode is brought to you by Pacific Shores. We have been an industry leader for over 25 years in the mental health and addiction space. We have helped thousands and thousands of individuals and families reclaim their lives. If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please reach out so we can do this together. Our number is 949-749-7317.
And we had to move again move. My parents decided that, it's just too tense. And my sister was just born. She was very young. So they started the immigration process to Canada, Quebec, which is a French province. So now I basically speak 4 or 5 languages, a bit of Ukrainian. My parents, they had to take the biggest hit because for them in their circles with group friends, there were new languages. Me and my sister, we came pretty young to Quebec, to basically Montreal. I was 15, 16, and it was easier to make friends. So, and then my parents were looking for a better life for me and my sister, and then I put them through hell here in Canada, catching all my behavioral issues, let's put it this way. So it's funny how life works. They were looking to come to find a better life, and at some points, I know they were wishing they would stay in their hometowns with family where they had more help. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so there's a lot of cultural things there too, but you shared on something of your parents are moving to a complete different country, wanting to provide more for you, and it sounds like your sister. And then what led up to the part where you said you became a little bit challenging for them?
So honestly, it started like fresh off the boat. Uh, in your teens, you start looking for yourself. I went through so many identity changes early on, even before immigrating. A woman trying to be, to fit in, feel desired, feel loved, all those external validations that you seek when I moved to Canada, no friends, nothing. Immediately, whatever gave me the best response out of people, what made me feel more connected and more part of a certain group of friends, which I was I grew up a bit like resentful. Oh, look at those people that grew up here. They have the language, they have the circle of friends. I'm like an outsider. I need to put an extra effort to fit in. I had issues with my like identity. I'm not fully that, not fully that, not fully local. So how would I get other people's approvals? Well, partying and cracking jokes all the time, never taking anything seriously. Obviously, substance abuse, partying, all those things gave me those feelings of fake connection that I had to this group of friends that I thought were friends, but I was too young to realize what I'm doing. So it started with a little smoking weed here and there, very quickly escalated to, you know, I call myself all dressed, from uppers to downers, stimulants, whatever I had to do to just not feel. And yeah, that's when it started. Then I also my first girlfriend here. I got basically cheated on, so that kind of put me down a path of even more self-destruction. Yeah, long story short.
Well, you hit on something that's huge is seeking that external validation or connection that I think really resonates with every human being. And so it sounds like the ones that were giving you attention were the ones that maybe weren't making the healthiest choices, but to fit in, you continued to. And at what point did it go from wanting to connect to I just kind of need this to survive?
Yeah, so I guess for many of us with the issues of that sort. In the beginning, there is a bit of fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit of fun. But very quickly, it becomes very self-destructive. And if you're not aware of it and you think you manage, I actually think being so intense is a blessing. Because I see some people that manage their intake for life and they never had this aha moment. So in a way, I was always intense. I always had a sense of I need to control my emotions and my surroundings. Um, and I built a lot of coping mechanisms that were not healthy. So in my like late 20s, 26, 27, that was already like there was no more like people. I was doing it in isolation. I was isolating. I have completely crossed boundaries I told myself I'd never cross. And yeah, so it's like it goes in cycles, and in between, in that decade, I've had periods where like things were looking up, but the self-sabotage is real. It's like I was addicted to that story of being a phoenix, like messing up so badly and then rising up from the ashes and then just to self-sabotage again. Sometimes it took a week, sometimes I was good for 3 months, 6 months. I don't know if that directly answers the question.
No, no, this is wonderful, and we'll go down a few rabbit holes here. One of the things that you said that really resonated was this level of intensity, and this is where a lot of times individuals miss this, families miss this, the world kind of misses it. Is when that part of the brain that gets hit by addiction and that becomes kind of the beacon, like people will do anything to continue that. What a lot of people don't recognize is once you give that, they call it the RAS, the reticular activating system, but it's like once
Mhm.
you give that homing device a different action to take, that is where we see people just thrive. And we'll get into where you are now and the beautiful things that you're doing and helping out so many different business communities. But talk about some of that intensity. At what point did you recognize that it's not just a weapon for destruction, but when you understand and you become aware and you actually start giving it something else to do, that it becomes it's kind of like an unfair cheat code.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in recovery, people talk about the seed of recovery, is being planted at some time of your career, of using. And since that moment, it's never as fun because you kind of know what you're doing. So since that moment, basically, you just bury a bigger hole in the sense of like shame and guilt because you know how things could be like, and you're just not doing it because you just can't deal with yourself, with your emotions. Basically, I was an infant uh, since my early teens until I quit mind-altering substances, and I was able to just sit with myself and not need to react. And at first, going through that process, you feel shame and guilt, but then you realize that once you accept that dark part, it was always like a stain that I wanted to get rid of. I was living a double life. Like I was eating salmon and going to a sauna on a Thursday, and then the weekend came and I went on a bender. And it's like this ambivalence inside my mind was hard to make sense of, and I wanted to kind of push it away and say, no, this is just me, few bad decisions, and it's just not real. It's a dream. Let me just ignore it, pretend like it wasn't there, and move on. Versus, I realized that this is literally my biggest like gift. Me overcoming this is probably the hardest thing I had to do, but it's also my kryptonite. It gave me faith. It gave me my sanity. It helped me create real connections with people that are real friends. It made me realize that all of my problems came from self-centeredness and just not being able to think of others because I'm so into myself all the time. My emotions so fragile. On the surface, you would never be able to tell. Like I grew up in a very macho environment. Like I wouldn't say alcoholics, just Russians. A lot of not even aware. I know it's getting better now, but yeah, you realize that once you accept your path fully, you're not hiding it, you're able to openly share about it, you make full peace with it, it becomes your kryptonite, the biggest thing that you thought is stopping you from everything, and you might never recover from it. Life will never be the same. You screwed up so badly. I'm so grateful I did it this way. I'm so grateful I was put to submission by my bad decisions.
And that's a great way
Yeah.
to put it is submission to the bad decisions. And that's kind of what it sounds like it started to expose the self-sabotage. Can you go into how you were able to become aware of that to start making those changes? Because identity is such a big proponent to continuing that self-sabotage cycle. And it sounds like you kind of figured some things out that you were able to work through that. Can you dive a little deeper on that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna share my story, and I hope people don't have to take it this far to wake up because you really don't. I'll share what I think is mandatory to put yourself on a different trajectory. But for me, I felt locked, like I felt a prisoner of my own mind. I remember some days I felt so I couldn't come out with the truth to people, you know? I really wanted to because I knew that once the truth is out, that's it. There's no more places to hide. I have to, take things seriously, blow things up with my employer at the time, which anyways I got fired from, with my family, which just like they had completely different plans for me. I was a straight A student in the past. I was like top of my class, creative, different things, and for them to discover, that I was such a fuck up in my 20s, it really made everything hard for me to come out with the truth, of how bad things are. So, me trying to just intensely fuck things up in a way that it will blow it up, and maybe I would, I don't know, be hospitalized, and then people would pity me and they would come and it will be easier to come out clean. So, I had to take it to a place where I knew that if I don't uh, seek solutions and change fast, then I'll destroy everything good that I had at that time, which wasn't even much. I was 3 months behind on rent, basically homeless. So very difficult circumstances, but that created the change. And the seed of recovery was planted a long time ago. So I'm just running on guilt and shame for years. Then I realized that until I become truly, fully honest, with myself and with everybody around me, nothing would change. Now, that in itself is not an easy process. So I went and I sought outside help. There are many recovery groups, from 12 steps to smart recovery to programs like yours, I believe, addiction centers. And once I got to a place where I felt like, wow, well, I'm not alone, you know? There are many other people. Because when you're like in it seems like everything is closing down on you. It seems like nobody understands. You're terminally unique. I went through like immigrations. I did that. Like people no under, nobody will understand me, which is such a huge like lie. And once I saw that there are other people that can help me, and I made them my new friends. Like they told me, the only thing that you have to change is everything. And it was a process. It didn't happen naturally, but a support group, you know, of people, like we have to do the work on our own, but we really can't do it by ourselves. So surrendering to my truth, realizing I can't do it alone, realizing it takes brutal, radical honesty to change your life, and using other people that want to help. There is a lot of help. I was never even aware of it because when you're in it, it's like everybody feels you project your own selfishness, self-centeredness to others, and it feels like you're all alone. But it really is not like that. You can be surrounded with 100 people and feel so isolated. Or I'm sometimes sitting by myself in my room and feeling like I'm about to, you know, burst in tears from gratitude and the connection that I feel. So I would say, yeah, definitely. A support group, your environment, uh, surrender to what is, not what you should have, could have, wish, and brutal, radical honesty.
Yeah, the honesty is such a huge part, and in the early stages, we see so many people struggle with that because of the guilt and the shame and thinking of nobody will understand me. Now, you have a very unique perspective, talking about immigration going from Russia to Israel, then over to Canada. What part were you able to realize that even if they didn't understand the physical moves and the different parts, that they understand that you are a human being in pain just like them, and that we're spiritually connected when we actually show up fully present. So how are you able to get to that? Because we hear that all the time. Nobody will understand. I have a unique story. We all do, but at the same time, we're all human beings trying to figure this out together. So what led you
Yeah.
to really letting go of that old identity, that old story, and saying people do understand?
So, like I said, if I would continue to rely on myself, I would probably go the other direction. So, getting out there, doing things I've never done before, going to sober parties, going and seeking the friendship of sober people, taking advice from people with many, many years of having their shit together. And one of the mantras that stuck from the beginning, because I always had a bit of ego to myself, you know, like I'm smart, I'll figure it out, like you don't know, and I was shooting myself in the foot. And the mantra was, shut the fuck up and listen. And I need to keep repeating that to myself even today. So once you basically take the suggestions of people that have what you have and you really apply yourself, you really give it a shot, you do things that are outside of your comfort zone, you go in other social circles, and this is so huge for me, like, you know, fellowship and doing things with people that are in the same mindset is so important. And that made me realize so much about myself, what is possible, and what needs to be done, not just to live, uh, not just being abstinent, but like being truly emotionally sober. You know, I didn't quit everything just to quit everything. I did it because I wanted a certain life. You know, like I wanted to help my parents. There's always like financial trauma and fights and arguments over it. Like I wanted so many things out of life, and realizing that this is this is the way that it is possible. I didn't believe it was possible for me because I let myself down so many times. So I had to take myself out of the room and go to places, go see people, uh, professionals or like people that know what they're talking about, listen to them, shut the fuck up and just do what they tell you. And so, like I said, the surrender brought me to this point. And then you put one foot after the other, you continue to adjust based on people's feedback. You need to have an environment where there's honest feedback and you need to be willing to take it and apply it. And yeah, because a lot of people try, um, just had a friend like recently that I heard that passed away, and yeah, a lot of people just don't get it. And the some people that do get it, it's short-lived because they stop doing the things that helped them initially. It's a difficult topic, yeah.
Yeah, and and thank you for sharing just so openly because that's the part. Two of the primary factors is that submission or surrendering and that radical honesty and that part of the brain fights it with everything that goes to fight or flight. Like at the reptilian part, it's just basic of like fight everything, continue line, and it's that keeps us stuck. So, what were the first steps, if you can recall, that you did that led to that surrender and that honesty? Because that is kind of the what we found is once we break that dam, now we actually can do the work, which we'll get to the work in a second. But so many people have that dam built so strong and reinforced that the surrender and the honesty never truly is allowed, and so it keeps everything back. So how did you bust that dam?
I had to put myself in the corner. I had to put myself in a place where it's just impossible to continue it. And I tried doing it by maybe overdosing unconsciously, you
Mhm.
know. Uh, but the last thing that actually broke it for me, it wasn't even like a financial rock bottom because I was already like in debt from like six figures and I was already in a place. It was like a spiritual breakdown. And I don't know how to explain. And some people, I see their journeys. It just happens to us at different times. You really don't need to reach any external rock bottom. Just the spiritual is enough. And the spiritual rock bottom makes you let go and be honest. And when I opened it up with my fiance right now, soon to be wife, which have seen me at my best, at my worst, my best again, my way worse again. And we've done amends, everything is out in the open. She knows, I hurt her in many ways. So when I realized like it's a point of no return, like if I don't do anything, I know that I'm just gonna either kill myself or just everybody around me will kind of distance themselves and yeah, it would be just be hell. So acknowledging that, coming clean to people that you know love you, that was the foundation. And then like going and seeking help and sticking to it and continue to admit wrongs and not just admit wrongs. People admit wrongs because they're trying to get off easy, actually correct them,
Yeah.
do it again and again and again. And yeah, because it's one thing to get sober, another to stay sober, right?
Oh, well, yeah, that's where I tell people once they graduate the program, like now the work starts. This is the
Yeah.
great part of going back home. You mentioned something earlier that I want to hit on. You talked about emotional sobriety, and such a great term and a level of awareness where you said, I'm able to actually sit with myself now. And it's a good thing because a lot of times when people are deep in their addiction, they don't want to be with themselves. So they look to have that disconnection. What are some of the founding moments for you that led to you actually enjoying being with yourself?
A clear conscience is number one. Absolutely. And the more smart you are, the more likely you are to believe your own bullshit and to justify things. Like I was going through hoops to justify my shitty behaviors, to justify everything, because I had to fall asleep, right? And sometimes if I was out of downers, then I had to lie to myself to make sense of reality. So once you get some time really like sober, things start to bubble up. And if you have the right tools around you and people to guide you, which for me it takes breath work, meditation, journaling, reflection, walking outside, being grateful, gratitude is the father of all virtues, like absolutely. Uh, Expressing it, staying accountable, but like truly accountable, which means like 1,000% of everything is my fault. Somebody stole from me, it's my fault. What did I do before? Somebody crashed into me, it's my fault. Why? How did I not anticipate it? Or um, I don't know, I chose to leave the house, right? So this type of accountability, all those things led me to that emotional, and I'm still going through it. It's not always that I enjoy my own company, even now, and there are levels to it, and I'm going through a lot of identity changes with my business growing and everything else moving so pretty fast. So it takes even more going inside. But in the beginning, just noticing that you don't just numb yourself to all the bad emotions, you numb yourself to all the good emotions. And often in my gratitude journals, I say how I'm grateful that I'm able to, on the full spectrum of emotions, the ups and downs, like life, because most people would agree the real changes, transformation, like inspirational moments, like ideas, things that actually change, it's from the negative ones. But if you never sit with them, you never reflect, like, what's the message here? You know, what is my intuition or God or the universe is trying to tell me? You never get to those breakthrough moments. So just having a glimpse of that in the beginning and continuing to listen to other people and practicing all those things. And it is practice, just like going to the gym, if I've been out of my emotions for over a decade, I can expect to get it right the first few weeks, months, and even years. I'm still kind of, I would say, new to life, relatively. So once you see it and once you realize like vulnerability is your superpower, emotions, it's, uh, one of my new coaches recently, I learned it from him. It's energy in motion, right? So if there's no motion and all your energy is depleted, there is no emotion and everything feels stuck. Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, two things you said that is so wonderful is you talked about how important gratitude is. And we see a lot of times, especially when we're stuck in our old belief system as our old identity, so much selfishness or entitlement comes up and gets in the way of that gratitude. And you've hit
Mhm.
on gratitude so many times. And I think you even called it the father of all virtues, which was beautiful. And the other part that I heard is moving from a mindset of when we tend to get stuck in victimization and going to the exact opposite of stating, I'm going to own everything, ownership and accountability for everything, even to the point where you said, if somebody hits you, like, oh, my fault. I chose to drive this street this day. And of understanding how radical that is. But when you do, your perspective of life just changes so much. It sounds like there's such a higher level of awareness nowadays for you.
Yeah, yeah. And sorry, you were cut off in the first 5 seconds, so I hope I got it all right. But it's actually all those things I learned because it's literally something that I always knew that extreme ownership is what it takes, but this example was something that I heard from one of my coaches recently. And using coaches and other people that are way ahead of you really helps internalize things. A lot of the things that people you admire say, it's you kind of already knew it intuitively, but they're able to articulate it in a way that just makes things click. And over time the ownership even like increased because I didn't think like that in the beginning when I just started. But right now that shift helps me feel like there's nothing like, there's nothing that I won't be able to handle or deal with, and especially for like in positions of leadership, and everybody is a leader in their own environment in some way. It's this is this is what it takes. And yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know if I kind of
No,
uh,
you're good. This is
yeah.
wonderful. So this is a great little segue of, so from what you were sharing, you went from basically in debt over six figures. You said homeless, uppers, downers, crazy addiction going out of control. And then you start opening up. You start getting in the rooms with people that have these lifestyles that you're after. You shut the fuck up and listen, which was so eloquently put. I love that. You become grateful. You're taking radical ownership and transparency. You're speaking truth. And so as you start to make that change and living a certain way, what has that led to? What is life like now for you?
Oh, it's wild beyond my imagination. A lot of us, before we get into this cycle of numbing ourselves, and it can show up even without like drugs. There are many ways to numb ourselves. As a kid, I always had those dreams, and many of us do. We have things that we like to do. We have things like dreams or visions of how the future might look like. Uh, Obviously, my heart goes out to people that don't have that opportunity. I realize it's a privilege of its own, even coming from like no money at all, but the family, my mother, father, they were together, and I was able to have a safe environment to dream. And once you get fully emotionally sober, I'm able to get back to that and live like a kid. And the only metric that matters for me right now is how excited I am to wake up in the morning and how peaceful or like consciously clear I am when I put my head on the pillow. Because I always thought I had an extreme insomnia, and out of some of it was true, but most of it was just me not looking at life by this metric, me not connecting with my child self. Today, I live a life that would make my kid self think, oh, that's fucking cool, and my old self say that, man, good job. And to be more specific, so once I had a year under my belt, my business, I was always like a computer geek, and actually having early success at 15, 16 when I came here, selling fake IDs and stuff like that, whatever I could.
That's creativity right there.
Yeah, it kind of got to my head, because I'm always like, hey, I'll find a way to kind of make money and it would just keep that cycle going for longer. And right now, the first year uh, came clean to a lot of people, was surprised at the response and how vulnerability really makes you have a deeper connection. So business started really turning around. Uh, People that I work with, they feel it. They feel, and because I'm not so self-centered, everything, the energy changes. It affected sales. It affected how I do what I do. Like I'm not just looking for a quick buck. I want to also transform our clients' lives. That's just from a business perspective. Then I had Dan Martel, who's our coach. um come up on my stories. And long time ago, I was with a friend who's a writer of mine, and he was actually doing some work from him. And it's funny how like things come together. And then I heard Dan's story about his addiction, and it really uh, resonated. And I joined his program. Since then, like my business 10x. I've traveled in the past 1.5 years, more than I traveled in my whole lifetime put together, like a lot. I'm able to meet cool people, not self-sabotage in a way of, you know, destroying everything. I do still, obviously, it's not everything is easier said than done, right? Like there's a lot of ways, like you know, coffee, nicotine. There's many other lesser evils, weed that could still kind of self-sabotage. But life today is just amazing. I joined another group of men and that give me more support when it comes to actually emotion and my vision and just we got a house. We bought our first property together. I thought I would never get to that stage, you know, in Canada, being I'm 30, 31, being that age, buying a property was just like a pipe dream. And in just absolutely like three years, everything changed. And I'm so grateful. At the same time, I realize, you know, if I start thinking with my ego and leading with my ego and going back to old ways, I have a lot more to lose now. And I am trying to not think about it this way, but just as long as I'm trying to, as long as I'm serving and helping and feeling connected, everything will work out. And this is more important than the money, the fact that, you know, I don't have to worry about debtors and collectors anymore. I don't have to worry about the lies I've told and does I check out and remember, which is a whole other energy drain, living a double life. It's beautiful. I'm able to a lot of my circle. It's actually people that don't drink, which is I always thought it's so rare, but it happened not even with me seeking it. It's just like those are the people I connect most with nowadays because I feel like we all have more to life than just hedonistic pleasures. You know, we kind of like a purpose, a mission, and we're more after like joy and meaning than excitement and pleasure, which are still nice. I still love a lot of, do a lot of different things that bring excitement and pleasure, but it's coming from not escaping yourself. It's more of a place, hey, let's, you know, let's celebrate, let's have some fun, but then you stay grounded and you go back to your thing. Because in the past, it's good emotions. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's sunny. Oh, I'm feel bad. I feel great. Everything would be an excuse to go and either numb or amplify.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things that we do is kind of our mantra here is to be able to build a life that you don't want to sedate or retire from. And that comes from a
Mm,
place of gratitude and wanting to serve and create value. And one of the words that you used, I remember I used to chase fun for such a long time until I learned a different F word called fulfilled. And living
mm,
fulfilled is so much different than chasing fun. So,
mm.
what are the things that get you out of the bed nowadays?
Not my alarm, actually. I'm blessed enough to not use an alarm, but at the same time, I go to bed at like 9:30, 10. Recently, it wasn't always like that, so I wake up naturally at like 4, 5. I, having goals, okay, is just it's transformational. Not even just because you're so attached to the goals, but I'm on a meal plan now. So I wake up, I'm looking forward to my rice cake with jam and peanut butter, and then my first workout of the day. I love it. Then I have my practices, you know, I meditate, I journal, I plan the day. And it came to a point where I'm looking forward to like challenging things and things that are hard, things that make you flinch. And I'm looking forward to walks with the dogs, dinners with the family, and date nights with the wife, jokes with friends, and connecting with cool, awesome people like yourself, like a lot of people that I meet through masterminds. The internet is just, you can find your tribe. There's a good chance that you might not have so much in common with like your childhood friends and family, even, but I'm just looking forward to whatever God has in store for me. I'm looking forward to learning how do I continue not get in His way or the universe's way, because that's uh, so many things more than I could list. So it could happen for anyone uh, as long as you just apply what people tell you to do, people that know what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, well, one of the things you hit on, and I've been able to watch part of your journey, is we have the same trainer, Coach Allen. But you mentioned daily disciplines. How important is it to you of having a schedule, a ritual, habits, whatever you want to call it, but of living this disciplined lifestyle? How much freedom is there in it?
Yeah, people always think, and even still, people look at some of my stories that I post on my Instagram and they're like, ah, that can be fun. It sounds so restrictive, so nuts, but it's exactly like you said. It's like it will set you free. Because I know that I can go through ups and downs, different emotional stuff, but I prove to myself I'm able to regain the trust I lost in myself that with consistent daily action, no matter what it is, it's just a matter of time until you get it. And it's not a linear line and you'll have step backs, but it's just it's like effort times time equals what you want. So if you just do the effort every day, then you'll eventually get there. Nobody knows when, but that's a deep core belief that I have. And actually, a recent concept, interesting concept that I heard from my new coach, his name is Parker J. It's actually devotion, not necessarily discipline. It's more of a devotion to your family, to your goals, to your vision. Because sometimes discipline, it's great, but it can come from place of lack or fear, you know, versus devotion, it's more out of love and commitment. And yeah, so I'd like to say that I'm devoted nowadays, more than disciplined, but definitely use discipline for the majority of my life. Just a recent concept I heard.
I like that. Devotion definitely resonates more with me. So I might be stealing that from you. So
Yeah,
if
credit to
if
my coach.
someone's yeah, there you go. Credit to the coach always. Um, so as we're kind of bringing this
Yeah,
home, if
Mark, yeah,
someone's yeah,
I'm so sorry because I thought it would be 45 minutes. I do have a call. If we can
wrap
do
it
it.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
so
bringing.
sorry because
No,
my
that's okay. I'll bring it home right now. You can answer it in the next 60 seconds.
yeah.
What is the one thing you want someone to take from this conversation?
That no matter your circumstances, how bad you think it got, how much you ruined your relationships, your health, as long as you're above ground, there is hope. And as long as if you believe that I believe and Mark believes and others that have had things maybe better or worse than you and they got better, then it could happen to you. So the first would be the seed that somewhere deep inside, I believe that once I'm ready, I'll get it. And if you don't have it yet, that's the one thing I hope you can take from it, no matter how your journey plays out. But absolutely, without a shred of the doubt, if you're one of the sperms that made it here, there is a reason that you are alive. And as long as you remove the numbing, you'll find out why.
Yeah, stay in the game. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch up afterwards, but just wanted to say thank you. Appreciate you, Timur.